Great people, this is Coach Saki again. We are coming back to you with another audio visual motivational donor. Coach Saki and Consulting with Placement, it's an organization that is on personal development, consulting and placement. We are actually doing this exercise in terms of actually educating our people, making a difference to everybody's life. It's what drives us. Let's help you to build it. It's our slogan. We've been taking this exercise, especially this year, focusing on the first semester, focusing on the topic of goals. We've been talking about goals, like what is a goal. That was our first presentation, our first video, audio visual motivational donor. And the second one was SMART goals. Now we are on our third audio visual motivational donor, which is we'll be talking about units. Units, like every company, organization, or every perhaps like an institution, they've got units. When you go to the institutions, that means in academic, you will find that those units, they are called faculties. When you go to organizations, you realize that those companies are literally called. This week's audio motivational donut is on defining our unit goals, defining unit goals. So we spent some time talking about unit goals as Coach Saki and Consulting with Placement. Let us help you to build it. It's important to have goals as an individual. It's important to have goals as a company. It's important to have goals as an institution. It's also important that even as a club, like whether you're a sport, you ought to have goals. If you don't have goals, you won't literally get to where you want to be. You want to reach your destination. So it's important that this exercise of goals, it's part of our lives in everything that we desire. Our slogan, let's help you build it. It drives us to make a difference in everybody's life. As I'm standing here today, I'm going to be literally talking about, defining or perhaps talking about unit goals. We spoke about this topic of goals. This is our third video on goals. Now we started about defining them, and we spoke about SMART goals, but now we're talking about defining goals for your unit. What am I talking about when I'm talking about units? When I'm talking about units, in an academic, it can be faculties. In an organization, it can be departments, or perhaps in a football club, it can be maybe those units like maybe second, first, and division, So I'm just literally trying to unpack as to what we should expect, or perhaps what is the application of each unit. But now, what is important is that, when you talk about unit goals, it's all about, like in the company, you have a team. And in that particular team, you are actually having maybe a task that you have to complete. If you are on sales, you will obviously have a target whereby you will be given a deadline, And if you are an individual, you will be, let's say you are an individual that is given a task to facilitate that particular target, Obviously, you look at the teams, you break your teams, which is those teams that you are breaking, they become units. And then you'll start actually facilitating and giving the target a unit that, look, Department A should focus on this, and Department B should focus on that, Department C should focus on that. So those are your units in the organization, So when it comes to these units, it's important that you always have an initiative so that you can be able to look at how you're going to accomplish, or perhaps like a way to support your, perhaps like your unit strategy. It can be a strategy of a long-term strategy that you have to apply. Obviously, if that short-term strategy it has worked, it can be expanded in that particular unit and perhaps be applied in all units because it has been a working strategy. So when it comes to unit goals, you look at the objectives of that particular unit. Once you've looked at that particular objective, you realize that this particular objective is going to actually take us further, but we need to have a goal for this particular unit. As we are having this objective, an objective, it's a sort of like a sum up focus that you should focus on. A goal is what is it that you want to achieve as a unit. So basically this is more about that. Now when we talk about units, we talk about, like, you also have to look at many things. You've got to look at the standards that you are actually striving for, maybe the work that you want to produce in each unit, and perhaps you might look at what are the better ways to improve that particular unit, maybe for productivity, or perhaps efficiency, or perhaps like to generate the most positive impact in your unit in a bigger scale in your organization. That is why in each and every organization you always have supervisors. Those supervisors, if they can achieve that particular unit goal, they become junior managers. Once they start to achieve those small unit goals that they were given, and they get to be given a bigger chunk of responsibilities because they've proven that they have what it takes, right? So after that, then once you looked at that, then you also look on the perhaps the benefits that maybe that you want to give to the person that will be maybe benefiting from that particular goal of that unit. It can be a customer, because if you want your customer to benefit on that particular objective, on that particular goal of that unit, which is so on that particular task that you need to do in that particular unit, you've got to look at what benefits do we want to give to our customers, Which benefits must we give them to become more competitive or to remain just as competitive as we are? Also, we need to remember that in that particular unit, are the required specifications for our products and services changing? If they are changing, how can we respond as a unit? What's happening in our industry and with our competitors that might be important to address in the goals we're setting? Which this process is a process that will be conducted by a unit, which is at that particular time you are brainstorming, of which in that process of brainstorming you shouldn't be worried about time constraints or perhaps potential problems that might arise while you are busy, while you want to execute a goal, perhaps that someone thought of during our brainstorming sessions. Of which, once you brainstorm all of that, you will have to narrow it down and look at what is working, what is not working. And once you've picked up those that are working for you, then you will start using them in your unit.